Hello, Jodi Hardesty here with Empowered Heart Connections. Have you ever wondered how it's possible to focus on your own healing and wellness and also let that allow you to enhance and improve your relationships with other human beings in the world and your partners and developing relationships with other people in the world? That's what we're going to talk about today. Is we're going to talk about some tools and techniques to work on our own inner healing so that we can repair some of those wounds that have kept us stuck over time and use that to help us propel forward in the world and enhance and really expand on our relationships and our loving connections with other human beings. All right, I've talked about this before, and I really like to reiterate this, that mindfulness is a wonderful skill to develop. And most of us run through the world, run through the day, from task to task to task to task, and we don't take a moment to take a breath and go, oh, I'm feeling stuff, what's happening? We just run and rush, and we forget to take a moment and take a deep breath. And notice what it feels like to take that deep breath and to feel that oxygen coming into your body. And to notice what's happening around you. Notice what the pictures on the walls are in your room. Notice how beautiful the sky looks when it's blue and the clouds and how fluffy they are. To just take some time to notice and be mindful of each and every glorious experience that you have, small or large. So again, whether that's getting up in the morning and drinking your coffee or your tea or having a glass of water or just noticing what it feels like to wake up and be alive in the world, but really taking some time to allow yourself to check in. 5 to 10 minute check-ins is ideal, but you can do this throughout the day, even if it's a few seconds at a time. It's just to, I'm rushing. How do I take a moment to just check in with my breath? Check in with my body and be fully present in this moment so that I can feel what I'm really feeling and not try to mask it. And when you do this mindfulness practice, this can increase your emotional awareness. So whenever we are emotionally aware, we are typically less reactive, and it can help us learn to pause before we react, right? Because most of us are not so fabulous at that, right? We tend to, something happens and we respond immediately, right? We don't take a lot of time to take a deep breath and recognize what's happening in the moment and really acknowledge what we're feeling and how we're responding to whatever's happening before we blurt out some response. So this mindfulness can really help you to stay connected with yourself and be aware of your own emotions, which can allow you space for empathy for others and for having a connection with others. Another tool is self-compassion. Is whenever we are sending loving kindness to ourselves and we are accepting ourselves, it's much easier to invite love and connection to other people, right? If we're not constantly beating ourselves up about whatever we did wrong or the mistakes that we made or what we should have, could have, would have done, then we are again opening ourselves up to healing that internal shame that we hold hostage in our bodies, and it allows us to melt those emotional walls that we've built up. So allowing ourselves compassion and forgiveness can really help us connect with others in a more meaningful way, right? If we have compassion for ourselves, then we're less likely to be judgmental and critical of others as well. The other tool is non-attachment. So one way to do this is to journal about what fears or expectations you're holding on to in relationships and allow yourself to really kind of let go of that fear. Like, what would happen? How would it be different? To really acknowledge what would be different if you were able to move past that fear, if you were able to recognize that that fear is only that false evidence appearing real and isn't really something that you have to stay attached to, that you don't have to hold on to that belief, that belief isn't actually protecting you, it's keeping you stuck, it's keeping you disconnected. And in our relationships, this can really help us realize when we have unrealistic expectations for others, right? Whether we're trying to grasp for control, or we're looking for someone to be dependent on, or if we're just looking for someone to continually validate us. And it can encourage us to have healthier boundaries, right? When we're not holding on to, if he or she doesn't do this or that, then I'm not enough, or they're not enough, right? Then we can kind of have more realistic boundaries, right? Not that we don't have, we have to have boundaries, but we have to have realistic boundaries, that they don't have to have these unrealistic expectations that might keep us really unintentionally sabotaging relationships, or preventing us from allowing a connection with other people because we're afraid. We're afraid, or we're really attached to, again, having whatever that narrative is that is in our heads, telling us that this is too dangerous, or I'm unsafe, or we're not able to really be connected to other people because of whatever this is, whatever the it is for you. We all have something in there that we are attached to telling ourselves, and to let go of the attachment to that thought, that story, to let go of holding on to what that is that's holding you back. And again, some of these tools can help you do that. Being mindfulness, being self-compassionate can help you let go of that. Like, oh, there's that worried thought. There it goes. That's my fear that I'm attached to, that I'm holding on to for some reason, that I feel like is keeping me safe. And I'm noticing that, and I'm letting it be, and I'm watching it float on by. Finding balance is another aspect that we all are longing for, right? We all want to find how to be able to feel our emotions, but not be overly emotional all the time, right? We want to have balance. We want to be able to kind of regulate our emotions, but still allow ourselves to experience things. And noticing the extremes in our reactions is a good way to do this. Is, okay, what am I really needing some balance in my life? Okay, do I tend to maybe fall over in this area, right? For is it the fear area? Is it the anger area? Or is it I'm always focused on doing the next task? Or what is it that may be having you tipping the scales of balance in your life? To just take a moment and notice, what is it that you're most frequently focused on, and is that serving you? How do you find balance in your life? And again, allow whatever those thoughts are, allow those emotions to come up, but still let them sift on by whenever they're not serving you, and go back to what that balance is what is it that I'm needing more of? If I'm a hyper doer, and how do I help myself to also find peace in relaxation, and in a connection with being silent and quiet within myself, instead of always on the go, right? Or whatever that imbalance is for you. Obviously, it looks different for all of us. In relationships, this can help us avoid burnout and codependency, or emotional withdrawal, and can really encourage us to have that steady connection and emotional availability, right? Not having that extreme on either side. We're not codependent and needing someone to care for our needs at all times, but we're also not completely disconnected and having a wall up, so we're not able to really respond and connect with someone else. The other part is shadow integration. So this is the part of ourself that maybe we're not that fond of, right? Our maybe jealousy parts, or anger parts, or fearful parts, those parts of ourself that maybe we don't allow room for, or we're ashamed of, or we resent or regret, or try to make go away. We try to squash it. To allow yourself permission to be a human being. That's what we are, right? We're human beings, and we're not able to, even though we try really hard, to avoid those uncomfortable emotions. And if we allow ourselves to integrate those aspects of ourselves without judgment, without criticism, and to let those just be the truth that is a part of ourselves, we can really embrace that we are both light and dark, right? We're both good and bad. All humans have these aspects, and nobody can avoid them. And if you find that you're allowing yourself to embrace those qualities of yourself, it's easier to manage them, right? It's like whenever we acknowledge our anger, right? If we're really feeling angry and it just kind of comes up because we've been kind of avoiding it, if we let it be, if we find a way to release that anger in a productive way, it passes, right? So we're able to embrace our emotions, and our dark sides, our shadow sides, or even aspects or personality traits of ourselves that we don't really love, that we're maybe working on, but to still love and accept that part of ourselves while we're working through it, while we're learning new techniques and tools to integrate that part of ourselves. So this can really help in relationships by reducing projection of our past wounds onto our partners, right? If we are maybe holding on to something from our past and we're not really dealing with it, we can be thinking that our partner is doing that thing instead of actually acknowledging we're feeling it ourselves. So it can create conflict where there isn't conflict. It can also help you recognize your own triggers and to work through them in a more peaceful and productive way. So you and your partner can discuss, hey, this is kind of a trigger for me. Let's walk through this together. And, I may react a little not my best sometimes, and can you be with me in that moment and remind me that there's a better way, in a loving way, like, hey, that came across a little harsh, maybe we could reword that, right? Can you ask for some help during these challenging times of recognizing and acknowledging our shadow parts of ourselves? Also, having inner stillness is something that many of us struggle with, is being able to practice stillness before or after emotionally intense conversations, just being quiet with yourself, allowing yourself time to just sit and be consoled by the silence, by that peaceful moment, by the quietness, instead of maybe grabbing your phone and distracting yourself, right? Like most of us do. But really allowing yourself to just sit with whatever that experience is and to breathe into whatever those emotions that came up, and allow yourself some time to kind of repair and recover from that stress or turmoil. And this can cultivate in relationships emotional clarity. It can allow you to listen without judgment and respond with wisdom instead of impulse, right? But we have to have those quiet moments to allow ourselves to kind of sort through things. And even if it is just sorting through all of those negative thoughts that we're trying to, get rid of, like, oh, there's another one. We need that silent time, that quiet time to sit within yourself and to allow yourself to kind of have whatever comes up, come up, and to have it come up without judgment and to allow it to be there. And then notice what's behind that. Okay, gosh, that really brings up that fear thought for me, and that fear thought comes up a lot for me. So what is that about? Or what is that? What's behind that? What happens if that fearful thing would actually occur? How would that impact my world? And then our responsibility. What cycles am I repeating? What am I responsible for in my life? And what am I recreating? What patterns am I maybe replicating that I haven't really worked through? And what new action can I choose today to take responsibility for what I'm doing in the world, how I'm interacting in the world, how I'm impacting other human beings in the world? For relationships, this encourages accountability for your behaviors and helps break those generational habits, patterns, behaviors that we may be stuck repeating and holding on to. So taking responsibility for our actions, for what cycles or patterns or behaviors we're repeating, and learning to recognize them without judgment, but acknowledge that, okay, this is a pattern that, maybe I want to shift up. Maybe I don't want to repeat this pattern. And then trying to commit to, this one's tough, non-violence. And I don't mean this in a physically violent way, but monitoring your own dialogue in your mind. So are you kind of a jerk to yourself in your heads? I mean, most of us can be from time to time. We can be a little nasty to ourselves, and most of the things we say to ourselves we wouldn't say to anybody else. So recognizing what that is, again, nobody's perfect. Nobody's ever going to be, this perfect Zen master all the time, right? But to notice when those thoughts come up, if they're critical of yourself, to notice, oh, that was a little harsh. Maybe I could rephrase that. Or is that really true? And do I really believe that that's true? What else could I replace those thoughts with that might be more productive or helpful? And how are those negative thoughts or those critical thoughts serving me? So, but would you just think about how you would speak to your best friend or somebody you love? Would you do the same? How would you have the same dialogue with them that you do in your head? And when we are more compassionate and kind to ourselves in our head, when we are having those dialogues with ourselves that are more empathetic to ourselves, we're able to reduce passive aggressiveness in relationships, reduce criticism, and we're also model safety in communication, right? So that we're able to safely say, "Ouch, that hurt my feelings," rather than screaming and yelling at each other or causing distress in each other. So, finding a way to make sure you are just giving yourself an opportunity to allow your inner reflection, that mindfulness, the ability to really be able to kind of sit in silence, sit with quiet, sit with peacefulness, embrace our shadow sides, and be compassionate to ourselves can help us be more compassionate in relationships and can really enhance our connections that we have with other human beings. I hope this has been helpful. Please share and like this if you have found this helpful, and I so appreciate you watching.